6:30 p.m. local time. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you very much for joining us in tonight's edition of Viewpoint on DBS television. There has been a hike in cases of civilians assaulting police officers. Videos shared on social media show citizens mocking and battering police in response to alleged brutality and corruption. And recently, Minister Paul Tanganji of Territorial Administration talked about the irresponsible behavior towards police and said it is unacceptable, adding that sanctions or punishment may range from 5,000 to 100,000 francs CFA and a jail term of 1 month to 3 years. That said, we are going to be looking at this particular action of civilians towards uniformed men in tonight's edition, and we are honored to have Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. He is a civil society activist and he will be accompanied by Professor Mark Anthony. Good evening to you, Doctor, and thanks for coming again.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm happy that we have the opportunity to be able to examine this very burning topic. This is a topic of interest, and I think that we'll be able to look at things, without emotion, so that we can cure this malady from our system.
We will be able to look at things without emotion. Take note. Professor, good evening and welcome as well.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for the opportunity, and to Dr. Nick, who is here with us. I think the situation already is getting out of hands. We are shocked seeing our own policemen, whom we are supposed to actually have respect for because they are putting on uniforms, fighting on the streets. And so the question is, who is to be blamed for that? Is it a civilian issue, or is it something that is caused by the police itself? So we need to look into that, because at times we level sanctions not actually taking into consideration the true cause of the issue. And that is what we need to look at.
That is what we need to look at. Let us have the first part of the show, yes or no, question and answer. Government reacts to public assault on men in uniform. Is this enough to curb the rising phenomenon? Doctor?
It's a yes, no answer.
Yes, no. Prof?
I would lovely like to take the same position with Dr. Nick, but I want to use a kind of yes, which I'm going to talk on.
A kind of yes?
Yes, kind of yes, because not the complete yes.
All right, yes to the greatest extent.
No, to the lesser extent.
To the lesser extent, rather. All right. And are there issues these men in uniform needs to work on concerning their relationship with civilians? Prof?
Yes.
Doctor?
Yes, a big yes, a huge yes, 80% yes.
All right. Let us have their viewpoint. Earlier during the introduction, I talked of government reacting, particularly the Minister of Territorial Administration reacting to assault method on police or law enforcement officers, and we are trying to find out if this reaction will be enough to curb the phenomenon. Dr. Nick, you are standing within the fence. You think it will and it will not?
It would contribute only to about, if I told it had to solve the problem, it would only contribute to about 10%, because the minister did not find out and did not address why people assault police. If he did that study and brought it out very clearly, we did our investigations, we found out this is what is going on, this is it, we're imploring the population to do this, and the police, this has been your own part of the story. If we try to do everything in this way, there will be some peace. He didn't seek to solve the problem. He was dishing out instructions, and he was doing a top-bottom approach where you just dictate things, you look at things and dictate, and think that when you dictate, the problem gets solved. That's the approach he took, but that's not the approach that is going to solve the problem. So the way he approached the problem already cannot solve the problem, because it's a social problem.
Right, but Doctor, he clearly mentioned that no civilian has the right to touch a uniformed man.
That is the law.
If there is any problem, you should take it to the hierarchy.
No, that is the law. But he didn't. He has to find out under what circumstances people aggress the police. That is where the problem is, and he should solve it. I'm speaking to you as an adult. And I don't know how many times in a week I am kind of like traumatized dealing with the police. They stop you in your car, you have almost about everything. They always look for ways and means of squeezing your neck, and you know they have ways and means of getting around you. And if you are not cultured, you will certainly react. And then when they are doing that to many people on the streets, don't forget, a lot of people have a lot of issues, and we are talking of a country that is going through a lot of stress. The nation as a whole is going through a lot of stress. There are parents who don't, probably you're talking to someone who the night or who last night did not eat, him and his children, whose wife is in the hospital or something. You don't know the baggage that people are carrying along, and just because you are wearing a uniform and you have a gun, and because the law is in your hand, does not give you a right to treat people carelessly. So we need to look at that and address it, and that's where the problem is coming from. And we need to go back and see how they are recruited, how they are treated, and what is going on in their mind. If we don't sort that out, we're in for a lot of trouble.
All right, Doctor, you stay with us. Probably you'll give more points, but for the meantime, let us have the point of view of Professor. We equally think that yes, to a lesser extent, this decision will not help us stop the phenomenon.
Okay, the reason why I said yes primarily is because actually the people are going to be intimidated, and by virtue of intimidation, maybe they will stop because they are afraid of going to prison. They are afraid of going to pay any fine. But it is not going to truly solve the problem, because the more the people store this anger within them. I want to say this. I don't know if you have witnessed the way magma pushes out of a volcanic eruption. If you experience it, then you will know that the day that it actually explodes is not the day that it started mounting up. It took a period of time. And that is the same way anger is stored in many persons. When we use these intimidation tactics, because I want to say this clear, it is the Minister of Interior's right to hit a hand on the table concerning the issue of harassment and assault of men in uniform. But he did not use the right strategy in dealing with it, like Dr. Nick actually said. The right strategy in the sense that you can't just see what is happening, then you react. There is need for an investigation to open. There is need for some of these policemen to be brought in, re-educated on what it means to be a policeman. Because I am shocked that a policeman will openly exchange blows with persons on the street. Knowing very well that they were trained to be peacekeepers. You know, the way they harass people today make us really believe like they were trained to become, I don't know if they are hooligans.
But in most of the videos, thanks to our producer, Magdona Tombo, we are able to have some of the videos. In most of the videos, we rather see that the civilians are
being manhandled, because it is not because you are putting on a uniform that you should assault persons. Some people can deal with you mercilessly, even though you have gone for a training. You have been trained to hold a gun and shoot, not to fight. There are people, most of the people you see out there, some of them have even done judoka, karate, and all that. And so, you want to go and fight with them? I remember the other day in there's this wrong point around Besenge. I saw a policeman blowing
a civilian,
and it's not it was not touching the man. The colleague was struggling to pull her to stop, to pull him to stop. He didn't want to. The question is, who is to be blamed in that case? Because it was taken on video. It proved that he is the one who started it. He is the one who was throwing the blows. The other guy was only struggling to dodge them. If he was beaten there, who would have been blamed? The civilian, right? Because he is putting on uniform. And those are some of the things that I think our minister did not take into consideration. You don't just hit your hand on the table and talk one-sided. You have to talk on both sides. Let us know how these people are going to be punished if we see them fighting on the street. Let us know what will happen to them if in case they assault civilians on the street. Their job is not to assault civilians. They are out there to maintain peace and order, not to create disorder.
All right.
Because from every indication, they have become more disordered.
They become more of a nuisance to the population.
They are creating more disorder than order. So there is need for the minister to talk to them as well. It's not only to talk to civilians. We know that the law is there. We are supposed to respect the uniform because the uniform is a state. It's state-owned. And so we should give respect to it. But enough is enough. When people get annoyed to a level, they don't take it anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's necessary that this thing be well addressed.
Dr. Nick.
Yes.
We know that there are equally civilians who are nonchalant.
Yeah.
Yes, who do not respect these law enforcement officers.
Yeah.
So, caught now within the situation, would the minister go to find out from each case that what happened and what did not happen?
No, the thing about it is what we can say without mincing our words is, number one, that the minister did not try to find out what is happening on both sides. That's clear.
All right.
The other thing that we need to look at, let's just step out without being emotional. Let's just focus on the police as they are and ask ourselves some key questions. There is a dressing code for all policemen. Let's just look at that. Do they dress properly? Police women, are they supposed to be putting on Indian hair and dress and all those things?
Dr. Nick.
No. It's part of the discipline. No, it's discipline. We need to begin to show because the indiscipline starts in small ways of you are deviating from the principles, and you keep going, and along the way you never know when it started and when it got worse. I'm just trying to bring us to the guidelines, so that every Tom, Dick, and Harry can see just how far our police has gone away. We're not talking about the fight, but let's just go back and examine them. When you see a policeman, what are you looking at? Can you tell he's a policeman? What is there that makes you disrespect him? Number one, your dressing code. I'm not talking about behavior. Your dressing code tells a lot about who you are and your character. Number one, you look at the women. Are you going for a fashion show or are you a police lady? All that hair, that artificial hair that you have cutting from here to your waist. And are you wearing your beret the right way? Are you wearing your cap the right way? Are you wearing the right shoes? Are you wearing the right top and the bottom? All right? That's where we begin. How many of those policemen are drinking in bars, drinking beer in bars in uniform with guns? Are they supposed to be doing that? Are they? How many of them are collecting bribes on the road? Did the minister see that? Did the minister talk about it? When they squeeze money from your pockets, what should the citizen do? Minister, tell us. Now, you know, I don't know if you know how to drive, but you know the way police people direct traffic. I'm just basic things. Probably, I don't know whether any of you are old enough to remember, but there was one Nkambe Papa, a policeman. There was something peculiar about him. He used to control traffic at the Governor's Junction there in Yaoundé. All right? Many years ago when I was in the university, that would be about maybe 30 years ago, and he was decorated several times. And two of his children, I think one of his children is in the army and another one is a medical doctor, the director. I think he should be the director of the regional hospital, Bamenda, actually. Now, let me tell you something about this Pa. He's such a disciplined police officer, and he used to control the traffic. He would put on those their white plastic gloves and white things and his white cap and so on. And he would stand there and everybody respected him because he respected himself. And the way he would direct traffic, you know, when you are directing traffic, when you want the traffic to go from your left to your right, you stand like that. You stand you stand parallel to the road, and you do that. You wave the traffic from this side to that side or whatever, so the traffic goes that way. Then when you want the traffic to stop, you raise your hand up it's a stop, all right, and with your white glove up, then you turn in a military style, and then you ask the others to go. That's, you do things in a neat, calculated way. These ones here, they beckon you as if they're begging, they beckon, come. Is that how you control traffic? We need to be able to do things in a way that is standardized. But when you go away and you wear funny shoes, you wear everything funny and so on, and everybody is just running around in circles and misbehaving, and you want people to respect you just because you are wearing a uniform. And how many civilians have the police killed?
Question.
How many civilians have the police killed, and what happened to those police people? And if the minister wants the population to respect the police, when you are disciplining them, make it public, so that people know that the government is disciplining those people, and the disciplines and the sanctions that they had, and take the cameras and show them in prison or something like that. Because more often than not, you will say, bring this thing. Of course, when you bring the taken and throw it in the garbage trash there, and that's the end of the story. So until we start, Mr. Minister, listen. The police and everybody respects the citizen, and the citizens respect the people. The respect comes first not from the citizens. The respect comes from the authority. When the authority respects itself and the people then the people will reciprocate. But if I see a police officer drinking in a bar, then when he sees me coming, he jumps from the bar to come and stop me, I will not respect him.
Professor, before we take the second question,
you see, it is funny. Why I laughed is because they fail to understand that the job of the police is actually to serve the citizen. So he is not an authority to the citizen. The citizen is his authority because he's paid by the taxpayer money of that citizen. And so I am their boss. And so the moment you fail to understand who is the boss in this place, you just made an error. And so it is necessary that the minister should understand this and not put things out of order. In Cameroon, we have given authority to people who do not deserve it. We are not saying that the colors of the nation are not supposed to be respected. Everyone is supposed to respect the colors of the nation. That is patriotism. But we should not take unpatriotic individuals who do not have respect for the nation and give them the colors of the nation to put on.
Correct.
When you take the colors of the nation, you go sit in a bar, you are a criminal.
Correct.
And so it is shocking when the minister does not see all those things and he just tends on the civilians. So it is very important that our minister goes back and look at the whole issue. Let him address it from the very base.
All right.
You are talking to the bosses of the people, of those particular police persons. We are their bosses. And so we believe that if they have to work effective and if they have to be paid, let me use the word, they have to be effective in their work. And I would like to quote Dr. Nick here in this case. Let them stop sitting in bars and they'll be respected. Let them stop misbehaving and they'll be respected. Everyone, I'm sure that we already know this thing, that the moment...
But Professor, I think you people, from your point of view, I get to understand that the police or the law enforcement officers are entirely at fault. But we've equally seen videos where civilians are uncivic, where they refuse to accept the rules given by these law enforcement officers. We saw a video where a policeman was trampled upon by a civilian with his car and all the like.
Okay.
So who should bear the responsibility at that? I'm
not in that perspective of saying that we are putting all the blame on the police.
Okay.
I want to make it plain to you that no Cameroonian of right sense will assault a policeman. I know what I'm saying. We grew up understanding that the police is there for us. We grew up, there was a fear for that particular uniform on their body. What has happened that people have lost that fear? What has happened?
Yeah, it's true.
They have done something to provoke the people to lose it. People were literally afraid. When they see a policeman, there's a kind of fear that accompanies them. what has happened that fear is no more there? It is because they did something and they have been doing something. You see, just wait when you are going, maybe you are not using your car, you are in the public transport, and maybe your ID card has expired. See the way they treat you. Is that the way they should treat a civilian? Is that the way they should treat people? And so people are nursing this anger every day. Those whom they collect 500 francs from them. Most of the times, those whom you see actually beating police people on the streets are Benzikin and taxi drivers. You know why? Because these guys have pushed them to the wall. They keep on collecting 500 every day from them.
Okay.
So,
in the face of this now, so what are some of those aspects these uniformed men should work on in order to better their relationship with the citizens, Doctor? You think that there are a lot, there are huge aspects?
There's a lot. Before I even answer that question, we see this violence coming out between the police and the civilians. And let's not forget also that amongst the civilian community, there's also a lot of violence brewing. And yet, even amongst the police and the military, there's also violence amongst themselves. So something is happening, something sinister is happening, where the stress in the community is affecting everybody. And then there are a lot of stressors, and comes a season like this, rentrée scolaire and so on, the level of stress also increases. So a little bit of provocation, you know, we get that le dernier goutte d'eau qui déborde le verre, you know, the last straw that broke the camel's back. So people are very stressed, and what we need to do is to train people in issues of emotional intelligence. Do unto others as you want them do unto you. Basic rules. Please try to serve others in love. Don't see others as a tool or something that you have to trample on to solve your own problems. It is the way we look at the other persons that hurts. Okay, and then we have to also say that when you look generally on this side of the Mongo, the way people, you know, they don't pay a lot of attention to, people go to school, but the kind of values that they come up with, they are not the kind of values that most of us learn on the other side of the Mongo from our mission schools, from our parents and so on. It's two mentalities, and the culture over this area is that, you know, there's a top to bottom administration. So administration comes from the top to the bottom, and the policeman represents that administration. So he talks down to the population. Everybody talks down, and the population is crushed, trampled. But on the other side of the Mongo is a bottom up, where there is respect. So those two things really come in, and we need to begin to address them and realize that citizens are not to be traumatized. We need to reformat our population, reformat our men in uniform, and to begin to make sure that they are properly, that if they want respect from the population, they should start by also respecting themselves already, by the way they dress, the way they address people, and so on.
The places they attain.
Yes, all those kind of things, because and they should not see the public as some game that they've got to, some milking cow. They should change. They're not there. They're not part of your banking system. They shouldn't make them a milking cow.
All right, they'll call it maybe advantage the service, like a Frenchman will say.
Well, that's unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. So hope that this advice is going to the competent ears. Professor, what are some of those aspects these law enforcement officers should ameliorate in order to better their relationship with the local man?
I think that most of them needs to be given proper education concerning what it means to be a peacekeeper. I know some very good police people, very good ones. I mean, excellent police people with good habit and attitude and character, that I am shocked at times when I see individuals coming from the police.
And even looking the discipline they go through, there are supposed to be examples.
We are supposed to be protecting them as well as they are protecting us. Okay. But when we see the kind of way they treat people at times, you feel like, okay, Anyway, let him be himself, because I don't see a reason why in a crowd of let's say more than 50 persons, somebody is fighting with a policeman, then people come and stand and they're watching and then filming. No. If police was that respectable as it was before, the people would have stopped it and even sanctioned the person. There would have been a kind of mob beating on the guy. But because most of our police people, I just want to also think maybe it's a kind of training that they have been given. This half-baked training where they just take them to school, rush them out and remove them. They don't go through proper training. Is the reason. There are most of those guys in the police who had tried different things in life and they failed. And they thought maybe the police was the last hope.
Last hope.
So when they wrote that exam, some of them are even criminals who successfully got in there. So they are using now that uniform against the population. So I think it is necessary for the government to do a proper selection of who should become a policeman. Because before you come out of school, they should have a kind of bulletin of your
record.
Your record should be there outlined so that they should know. But if you cannot be that productive, they should dismiss you from the police before you leave them, before you come to the streets and create more havoc. So I think that the training needs to be ameliorated. Then citizenship should be well taught to them.
Can I just say one little thing before we run out of time?
Doctor?
Yeah, if you go into the population and carry out a study amongst people who landlords, you see that landlords don't like to give their houses to police people, to gendarmes, to lawyers, and to magistrates because they abuse the law and abuse them. And that abuse that is brought to the landlords is the same abuse that is carried out there by this corps. Magistrates, judges, lawyers, policemen, gendarmes, military men, they tend to abuse. Check with landlords and you will see.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. He is a civil society activist and professor, for coming. Hope to have you next time. And to you televiewers, hope that you have been educated and informed. To you, the law enforcement officers, protect us with love, and we will in turn react or love you too in the respect to your duties. That's it. Let us take a rendezvous for tomorrow. Thanks to all the team. We could make it, or we could call it a day. Stay tuned to DBS Television. Coming up at 7 p.m. the primetime newscast with Genda Blanche.